Welcome to Museum of Cornish Life. My name is Isabel. I'm the Community Engagement here at the museum, and I'm here with Tony Crosby, who is a visual artist, and we have commissioned him as part of a project that we're doing with St Michael's Church called Firm Footings. For any of you who don't know the church, this is a lovely picture of the church. It's 5 minutes walk from us here in Helston, and they have received money from the Heritage Lottery to replace their floor, but also we're looking at ways to open up the church to the wider community. You may have noticed that I'm standing next to this rather glorious lantern, which is of Henry Trengrass, who's a very important figure here in the museum and of course in Helston. And we commissioned this lantern 2 years ago from Tony, and we've asked him to make us some new lanterns. But before we talk about the specific job that we've asked you to do, or artwork to create, I should say really, could you tell me a little bit more about how you got into this amazing magical world?
It came about through my wife, who many years ago used to work for a theatre company called Knee-High Theatre. And they took theatre to places where you wouldn't normally expect to find it. And that was part of a development of community arts that was happening, where you went somewhere and you made a spectacle out of what was to hand, the simplest of materials. And out of that has evolved in Cornwall particularly a language of outdoor celebration, outdoor theatre, outdoor spectacle, because you've got wonderful stories, wonderful landscape, put the two together and you've got just the most remarkable things. So it was over many years, what's evolved in Cornwall is this language of outdoor celebration, particularly nighttime celebration. So we have a series of lantern festivals that now run really from one end of Cornwall to the other. Finding ways of telling stories, using simple materials, engaging the community, making it very simple, very accessible. So it's taking very simple materials, very strong sense of locality and place, and making it out of your imagination. So it's not what you've seen on the telly, it's not what you've downloaded from your computer, it's what you've made with your hands, and you take it out into your community and you share that time together, giving it back to the people who call that town or that village or that place their home.
And for anybody who's been in Cornwall in the winter, Tony's actually also director of City of Lights in Truro, which is phenomenal, and Helston has its own light parade as well, and we were very honoured to be able to take our lantern out and join in with the community a couple of years ago, and also to join in with the community in Truro. So, as I said, we're doing this project with St Michael's Church, and in the church there is a rather beautiful stained glass window, and I'm hoping that you can just have a little look from this photo here of the window. And I don't know if you can see in the top corner, there is an angel. And they're very particular angels because they are dancing. Because of course in Helston, it's very famous for the Flora dance. And these angels are indeed, look like they're dancing the Flora dance. So, Tony, we kind of gave you a commission, didn't we really? And we said what would be fabulous is for the church community to also join in, potentially with the evening parades in Helston. And we'd love for you to make some angels.
It was wonderful, because in the same way that we took a story from inside the museum and took it out onto the street to show the people of Helston, this remarkable person, all this ingenuity, this wonderful background to the fantastic collection you've got here. We're going to do a similar sort of thing with the church. So in that church, there's a window in the corner at the end of the church, stained glass window, a picture in light. So what better way than to take that picture in light and turn it into a sculpture in light and take that story out into the town to show, particularly at a time when people actually can't access things very easily.
I know,
Actually, they can't see the inside of the church. Maybe we can bring the inside of the church out to show and share with them.
Absolutely.
So, and doing it in a really simple way. So it's not be using some sort of very clever technology.
No.
It's literally bits of paper and bits of stick and bits of glue that we've put together. So you could go home and you can make something on your kitchen table.
Yes, and indeed we hope you will. Talking about bits of paper and bits of stick, so we're right at the beginning of this build, and I'm looking at the floor because I can see circles.
Yes.
Now, Tony, tell me about. First of all, could you tell us a little bit about the materials that you use?
Yeah, we use this material here. It's called Withy, and when I was a little boy, my mum used to go shopping to the supermarket, and she would take a basket, a woven basket. We didn't have plastic bags. I'm that old in those days. And this is what it'd be made out of, withy. And it's a really ancient material. And it's so beautifully simple. It's just basically a bendy stick. And we stick bendy sticks together with paper tape and cover them in paper, which we dipped in glue, and we put lights inside, and that makes the sculpture. So it's as complicated as that, in essence. Actually, there's a little bit of know-how behind it as well, and a little bit of sort of withy technology, but none of it's complicated.
And these will, of course, come from willow trees.
Yeah, this is willow. This is grown in Somerset,
right?
As a crop. And these would be, it grows really fast, willow, so this would take a matter of months to get to that size, and then they crop them, they steam them, strip the bark off them. It's a material that's woven into our culture in all sorts of ways. There's a folk dance called stripping the willow, where people move back and forth.
Right, yes.
Well, that was to do with actually taking the bark off the willow branches, and it would be done annually as a crop. Children would be taken out to school to help with it. Back of fishing villages in Cornwall, usually there's a bit of boggy ground at the back.
Right.
It's now a car park, because it's no good for putting houses on.
No.
Have a look in the hedges. You'll see they're stuffed full of willow.
Wow.
Because that usually, back of the village, that's where they would grow the willow crop, and then they would make their baskets, their fish pots, fish traps, all of it. So it's all out there still. And we've just invented new ways to use it.
Incredible. And indeed, if you come into the museum and have a look around, you'll see many, many things that are made that are basket based. In fact, we're standing in front of one, which is part of one of our old fire engines. And yes, it's
everyday domestic objects.
Yes.
We made out of it.
So I'm going to ask you about challenges, because I said blithely, can you make us do angels? And you said, of course, Isabel. And then this morning we've been talking, because of course with angels there's a particular challenge, isn't there?
Well, there is. I mean, the identifying characteristic of an angel is its wings.
It is.
Which are glorious things to make, but they do come with a few practicalities that they can take up quite a lot of space.
Indeed.
So we've got a space in here that we're making in, so we've then got to get it out of here through a door, and then similarly in the church, we've got to get it into a door. So right to start off with, I'm thinking about dimensions and space and all that work. So I've been working with a couple of paper models, because you sort of have to think in 3D when you're doing this. So I've got wings that could either do this at the moment. That's one potential movement, because we would like to get a bit of movement into it. One of the other things I do, I make automatons. So I like objects that move, sculptures that move and have a little bit of wit and character about them. So that's one option, little flappy wings like that. And then the other one, potentially, pins come out on that one. And then these are just really just simple little card things, just so I can think out loud. So this would be another wing, maybe, that could do that. So that's what I'm trying to work out at the moment, which one of these ways to go. And that's to do with the spaces I've got to get it moving through. So here's some drawings I've been doing so far, just working out basic mechanisms, and also the framework that's going to have to hold those mechanisms together, because actually you're using quite a lot of force on a bendy material. So as well as the willow that we will use a subframe of bamboo. And within that subframe, we will be hiding the electrics that will illuminate the sculpture. But also the pulleys or the levers or those simple mechanisms for moving objects around inside as well. So I've got to make sure that there's enough volume inside that body to have those mechanisms inside, and they're going to work reliably. Because what you don't want is just one wing flapping and the other one not.
No, it'd be a very inefficient angel.
That's right, and then also because the objects that tend to have to be quite big, because we're going to take this out onto the street. So larger than life-size works.
Yes.
And things that can expand out into the space and have a sense of theatre, a sense of movement, and also that interaction. So, if an angel comes up to you and lifts its wings, you're going to go, oh my heavens, look at that, that's amazing.
Yes.
So all that engagement and activity, sensitive theatre, you need to try and build into it. And then there's really simple practical things, like the door isn't going to be big enough for him to go through now. So can I break it down into component parts that will put back together again in a reliable, sensible way? So there's a bit of art, there's a bit of mechanism, there's a bit of discovery as well as you go along. Because I trained as a designer originally, although I've ended up doing this somehow. And back in those that day, wood was thought of this boring brown material that had every conceivable production disadvantage you could think of. But actually, it's full of character. And one of the things you do when you're working with a natural material, you've got to take its character into account as well.
Yes.
So I may well be drawing quite measured, considered drawings, but actually the material itself will start to have an influence over what the shape of the thing is and how it wants to come together.
Wow.
And it will present its own solutions and problems as it goes along. So although I will start off with an intention,
yes,
it's actually
form.
Yeah, exactly. It will change as you go along.
Comes to life.
Exactly. When you start getting the object
Yes.
in 3D, you're thinking, oh, actually, if I came it from the other direction and linked that bit with that bit, that would solve that problem, or would that would make that shape. And one of the really nice parallels between working from this source material of the windows in those pictures in light is that, as you'll see with Henry here, he is a picture in light. So
he is.
if we turned his lights off, he would just appear as this sort of white object. But once he's illuminated, all the sticks inside shine through the paper in the same way that the leading does in
a window.
In a window.
Yes, of course
so
it does.
that's part of how you describe
Yes.
it. But those
Yes.
network of sticks inside are partly a drawn line that shows you the delineation of a hand or an arm or whatever, but also a structural thing. And that combining of those ways of working with a drawn line and a structural line will be the discoveries I make as we go along, so that will change.
Okay.
So
from
this is how I sort of start to work my way through it. So this will either be the rotation of the wing as a spindle. So
like a shoulder, almost like a shoulder
yeah,
joint.
that's a mechanism.
Yeah.
So it will do that and the wing will lift up like that, have a spindle through there and a pulley. Or this could be the start of the S shape of the wing.
I
So I'm starting off with things that have possibilities.
Yes.
Not yet decided. Those possibilities will firm up as things start to come together, and I start to make the discoveries as you go along. And the material is full of discoveries. I've just got some ones here because it's a combination of a material. There's this description they have of schools. We used to call woodwork or metalwork. It's now called resistant materials.
Right.
And I think that's a really good description because the material sort of
challenges you back, doesn't it?
It's not always going to cooperate. And,
no.
And when I go into schools, primary schools, to do workshops and other schools, I sort of go in with one of these and I say, okay, just tell me what this is. And they go, it's a stick, teaching them the blinding obvious. I said, well, just describe it for me. And quite often it takes them a while to get to the bit that I'm after.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very simple thing. I'm not hiding anything, I'm not being clever. It's a stick. It is a stick, it's brown. It's thick at one end and it's thin in the other.
It is indeed.
So if I say to the children, what shape it's going to make if I bring the two ends together, it'll make a circle. And of course it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't.
It makes a rather nice egg shape because it's to do with the thickness of the material, the slower, the faster material. So we have to find ways that we can use this resistant material that wants to do what it wants to do in a way that is predictable and doable. So what we do is we take two of these together and we just wrap them around each other.
Oh, I see. So
like
you've intertwined them.
Yeah, so effectively this gives me a line of consistent thickness that I can work with and wrap around. So this is very flexible, it will bend into all sorts of shapes because we work with it slightly down. So when I now bend that round,
you can make a circle.
I make a beautiful circle.
That is brilliant.
And you'll notice it has a characteristic, it is a spring.
Yes.
So it will push out against the shape. So that's one of the things when we're building the sculptures is really important, that it gives you a sense of rigidity. And then you can also work with it in a straight line. So that is also a circle.
Yeah.
But look,
you've put in a structure.
And what you're doing is you're building triangles inside.
Which gives it rigidity.
So that is actually really now stiff.
Yeah.
So you can build a sort of structural integrity. So there's a mixture of all sorts of things going on, where you've got really simple, practical things like the size of the door I've got to get this through.
Yes, which is fixed.
Absolutely. I've got a story I've got to tell about the
angels.
The angels.
Yes.
There's a bit of guidance really in how the angels are in the window, and I want to follow that around. Particularly the way that they've been treated
Yeah.
with just drawn very simply in black and white on the glass.
Yes, because they are very simple.
Which is not dissimilar to here. And then I've got the practicality of making the thing stand up and hopefully be sufficiently rigid and strong enough that it can support a mechanism such as a flapping wing.
Yes.
So
thank you very much for that.
I've got a handful, haven't I?
You have. And of course, just to add in one final thing, they do need to dance as well. Yes, they need to be in flight. Thank you. So I am really excited to see how these are going to progress. I think we all are, to see what we end up, what kind of angels we have, what kind of wings they might have. So hopefully we'll be able to join you back at a later stage and discover our angels. Watch this space.
As we make the discoveries.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Jamie.